Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome back to the Daily Newcastle podcast. I have got two very giddy guests. Well, one in particular, one doesn't look that giddy. I will be your host for today's episode. So it is me, Nicola, and I am joined by my two counterparts. I've got one looking really at me, really quite serious. I don't know if his camera's froze or... Oh, no, it hasn't. I am joined by Michael. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. No, I'm doing fantastic. I genuinely am really looking forward to this. So, yeah, I'm doing well. I'm much better now.
Lovely job. And I am also joined by my girl, Jo. How are you, honey? After your...
I think I'm more excited to see you than Michael was, but
Well,
yeah,
the effect I have.
I'm so excited. I'm all giddy, like you said. So yeah, I'm good.
I'm surprised because you've had an afternoon of it. So nice to
I've
see
had
you.
a day,
Sherry,
man.
darling.
A whole day.
Yeah.
It's
been a week, and we're nearly at Friday. Well, by the time the listeners listen to this, it will be Friday. So happy Friday, everyone. Happy Friday. Right. So today we will be previewing our trip to the Saints for the weekend's fixture, and I thought we can get into that in part two. But part one, I know, I don't know if everyone's been listening this week, but we did an episode earlier in the week where we talked about PSR and financial fair play and transfer windows and how boring the transfer windows have got because people like Man City and Chelsea just have all the money to spend and we don't. So I thought today we'll just quickly touch on the lack of transfer news coming out of the Newcastle camp. Me moaning, and it's not me criticising. It just seems to be...
Yes, it is.
It just seems to be us that always seem to be suffering a little bit, or things are just a bit quiet, and yeah. So obviously there's heavy rumours going on that Miggy is on his way out the door for the second year in a row now. We've got to this point where a couple of clubs have, put their interest in him. We've got to the point, and then there's been no news. And I think this rumour has been circulating now for at least a week, and we don't seem to be any more sort of along with the deal. So I want your guys' opinion on how you're feeling, sort of on how the transfer window looks for us and how quiet it's been and what you're sort of thinking and your general consensus about what's going on, really. So, Michael, start with you.
Yeah, I think it's one of those where it's easy for us to look and go, "Oh, we're really struggling, nothing's going on." But honestly, I don't think anyone is. I know we're seeing things like, Nottingham Forest are putting a £22 million in bid in for Johan Wissa. That buys his left leg. They're never going to buy him for that. Mateus Cunha's potentially, they're saying he could be off to Forest. I know he's had a falling out with the Wolves manager Pereira, so that could potentially happen. But I generally don't think anybody is going to be spending money. And I think a lot of the stuff that's coming out, and this is probably a bit harsh to say towards football journalists and stuff, but it feels like a lot of it is just agents putting it out there, trying to make something happen when nothing really is. And if you're a journalist, you have a solid lead from an agent, you have to put it out there because it's news. The agent is telling you himself. But the reality is most clubs are looking at things at the moment and going, yeah, we can't afford to risk it. I mean, look at Ipswich. They've spent 20 million. They're in a relegation battle. They would need to spend a lot more than that. Our opponents at the weekend, Southampton, they've spent out. Everyone is crippled.
Yeah. True. Very good outlook. Jo?
I didn't expect too much, I'll be honest, in this window.
Yeah.
So I'm not overly surprised, shocked, whatever you want to hear. Because I have heard, I know we're all joking about moaning. We're not really moaning, but I've heard a lot of people actually moaning, surprise, about the lack of signings and where's the 70 million gone from the Gahey bid and all this sort of jazz.
Yeah.
I would like to see the Miggy deal done because I think, like you've just said, this has dragged on for so long. It's getting to the point of, is he actually ever going to leave until his contract runs out and then he's forced to leave? But, he's still got a job he can do elsewhere. So all jokes aside on him, he has peaked for us. He's done his job. He can't really do anything more. He needs to go on. And he's got a lot to offer still, but for someone else, really. And I think he wants to go back to the MLS anyway. So personally, in my opinion, please go for multiple reasons, not just for us, for yourself as well, would be my thing as well. Incoming wise, I mean, you obviously hear all the usual rumblings of completely random and ridiculous stories. To name one that I saw today was the Douglas Luiz swap deal, apparently, that we've got going on with Tonali going out, and Douglas Luiz coming in. I mean, come on. I
hadn't seen that. It's not been online all day, though. So
Well, I knew we were going to touch on it, and I just remembered it from earlier on when I was really busy at work, obviously. So I thought I'll remember that one for, and clearly I've had a very productive day. My manager knows me; it's all right. He's listening. And then apparently Grealish, we're in for Grealish, and guess why we're in for Grealish? I bet it's because Man City are just doing absolute dog at the minute, and Grealish doesn't really get played a lot anyway, does he? I know he's scored recently. Wow. But yeah, that's just another random person that we'll link to. That not a cat in hell's chance will he become at Newcastle.
Say on the unlikely event, and this is not me saying I want Jack Grealish because I don't think I do. Maybe back in his peak with Villa, I would have snapped your arm off.
He's great back then.
Now he's now he's sort of at Man City. We don't see much of him as probably what we're used to. And obviously we've seen his England career dip ever so slightly because he spent most of his time on the bench at City. Would you guys, if the opportunity arose, would you guys take Grealish into the team? And does he go straight into the first team? Is my question. Michael?
Yeah, absolutely.
I was going to say, yeah, I agree with Michael there, yeah.
Yeah, Grealish is one of those players that he's a confidence player. He needs a good run in the team, and that's never what he's going to get under Pep Guardiola.
Agreed.
Guardiola's took that little bit of attacking flair out of him. He's made him a bit more of a defensively minded player, which isn't great for Grealish as a player. But I think when you look at what he did with England when he had a sustained amount of games, I know he didn't really play against great opposition, but he looked incredible. And I think if you give Jack Grealish time, which Eddie Howe would, and you give him game time consecutively, which, let's be honest, we're doing to Murphy at the moment. Of course, we'd give it to Grealish as well. Yeah. So Murphy's just showing with game time, you can turn a player who, let's be honest, 10 million worth player, potentially. If he was 5 years younger, you could probably be able to sell him for 40 million now. Like, that's how good he's playing. And that's just a purple patch. And I think Grealish, if he came to Newcastle, it's not going to happen. But I'd love to see him in a Newcastle shirt, even if he, just so he could play like Almiron.
Well, I'd like to say, wouldn't that be a 10 of events of Miggy out, Grealish in? Joe, do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, strange enough, it is strange to say I've always been a fan of Grealish, but I have to a degree because I like what you said, what he did back in Villa. Yeah. But you're right, exactly what Michael said about City. It just really has not suited his style. Then everyone's calling him £100 million flop. And you're thinking, well, it's not all on him at the same time. And then obviously his little party boy image that he's got, it's not an image, it is his lifestyle, bless him. But I think, you know what it is? If I wasn't playing so much and I was getting paid that much, maybe I'd be partying all the time. Like, you got to do something with your time, right?
He's a dad now as well. I mean, I think he's a bit more busy than partying. He's had a baby recently, isn't he?
You never know these days, man. They get up to all sorts of these footballers, man.
You don't. Yeah, absolutely.
No comment and all that, yeah. This is very true.
I agree with what you both said about him. I feel really sorry for him that his career seems to have slowed down because with Villa, he just hit an absolute, a bit like Isak, wasn't it? Obviously, just hit an absolute peak. And I would have snapped your arm off for Grealish. I think I still probably would, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think with the right sort, I'm not saying Pep's the wrong coach for him because obviously Pep's incredible, but with the right coach and that suits Grealish's style of play, I think he would be an asset to any team, to be honest. So,
but you're right actually about Pep there. He's a great coach, but he might not necessarily be the great coach for him because not all footballers are going to pair well with the coaches, and that's where Eddie's been able to get the great out of our team. Whereas I think a lot of other coaches, had they came in at the time Eddie came in, I was convinced that so many others, even Emery, by the way, that we would have went down. I think so many other coaches could not have coached that team just how it needed to be, if you know what I mean, to get it to where it was. So I'm not saying Eddie's a magician. He kind of is. But, he's done things that other coaches can't. But then I appreciate Pep's also done amazing things. However, Pep has only ever coached brilliant teams. I want to see Pep in some lower league team really show me your managerial skills, boy. Then I'll respect you fully. Not that he obviously cares at all about Ginger Joe in Newcastle who's sitting there bleating on about him.
Luton Town.
Imagine.
Wouldn't that be a story? We're going off a bit of trail now, but I'd just like to talk about it. Do we think we'll ever see Pep coach a lower side? Not a league, but like a lower...
when City get relegated.
Fair enough. No problem.
I think next step for Pep's got to be international. He's conquered pretty much everything in domestic football. He'll go to he'll probably end up at Spain, dominate there. England will fail to win another trophy because of it, and we'll all hate him even more. because we hate success.
Clearly.
Anyone successful could get in the bin.
Yeah, true.
We don't know success.
True, which is why we love Newcastle.
Not yet.
That's why you like the Washington Commanders.
It's exactly why. It's exactly. I love losing. It's great.
Yeah. Anyone wondering what's going on? We've all recently discovered that we all like American football, and Joe
To a degree.
is, well, to a degree, yeah. And Joe was giving us a little bit of lip earlier about the teams that we follow. So yeah, it's going to be all right, Joe. Don't worry. I think we'll end part one there. I do have one more transfer, well, two more transfer bits, but we'll go into part two in that. So we've got the first advert, which will be read out by Joe, and it's from our sponsor Zencastr.
Cool. Here it's. Speak properly, Joanne.
Really good stuff.
Go. Fountain screwed up at some point, wasn't it? Go again. Right. Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencastr came out the clear winner with 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs. It's super easy to start podcasts, it sounds great, and it's delivered efficiently. Or not sometimes. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencastr.
Beautifully read, Joe, in the end. Well done.
Kinda. Got that.
Oh, lovely. Okay, so part one, we talk about the sort of lack of transfer news coming out of the Newcastle camp. What I was going to add in part one, but we ran over ever so slightly, so I thought I'll ask in part two. I have given you this question before we start, so I'm hoping you've had a bit of time to think. Each got one player that we could bring into the Newcastle squad tomorrow. Who would it be?
Are we talking realistic, by the way, or none?
Well, any.
Should we just pick any player?
Just
Yeah?
pick any
one player in the whole world.
In the whole world that you would
Not
like
one.
to see currently at Newcastle, and you can bring them in tonight. Who would you bring in and why? Who wants to go first? Joe?
Go on then, saying that one just popped in my head because I've now got unlimited funds and unlimited everything, and everybody wants to come to Newcastle based on this answer.
Mine is not going to be that good compared to yours.
Well, now you've got some freedom, you see, because I've went OTT. Give yourself a couple of minutes to
Like
think.
you. Yeah, well, I'm too late.
Not like me at all. Thanks, Gil. I'm going to go for the uprising superstar that is going to be the new Messi, Lamine Yamal, because I just think he's the best player in the world. I just absolutely love the kid. And obviously it's totally realistic that he wants to come to Newcastle.
He's coming tomorrow,
So there
mate.
we
I heard
go.
it. I've seen it on Twitter this morning.
Obviously, you've not heard those links.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Okay, that's your one, Michael.
Well, I'm
no.
I'm going to be sensible. I was going to say Lionel Messi, but
Come on, be silly like me, Michael. Come here, come on.
Maybe I should
I'll
have said
restore some
realistically.
order.
Who?
I'll restore some order. That wasn't the player name.
Sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
Oh, I'll probably go for Tyler Dibbling. Being more realistic.
That's very realistic.
I think he's one of those players that Southampton say he'll cost 55 million now. That's 30 million in the summer when he's only got a year left on his contract. And I think genuinely, you look at the young English talent that Newcastle have in the likes of Lewis Hall and Tino Livramento.
Yeah.
But both of those are going to be England's number ones for the next 10 years. I think Tyler Dibbling's going to be up there as well. You'll have a lot of competition with Bukayo Saka, but Dibbling's, he could go all the way, and he's going to do it at Newcastle.
I'd like to see that too, to be fair. Yeah.
Well, I'd like to see that. Maybe that would be a summer transfer. What do we think?
Yeah, 100%
Yeah,
summer
100%.
transfer.
I think we're going to do business in summer. I say this every transfer window, and we don't. So, speaking into existence, we're going to do a lot of business in the summer.
Apparently.
To be fair, interestingly, it looks like we have no money at the moment. But interestingly, if you listen to something Kev said on, I think it was the Transfer Tuesday podcast we did, he said we thought we were being a bit coy with how much money we had, and we're still saying that we're skinned. But that Uzbekistan, I think it's Krasnikov, no, it's not. It's something like that. His agent has come out and said, Newcastle were actually really, really close to signing him, and it's a 37 million bid or something like that. So it shows that the money is there to spend. Maybe that was the intent of, that's what Miggy Almiron gets you if you sold Miggy. But I think more and more I think about it, I think Kev might be right that we are just being a little bit coy, a little bit clever, and that in the summer there might be a little bit more there in the kitty than anyone's expecting.
They're going to give Eddie the credit card just to go wild.
It's probably maxed out, but
Got the black card, hasn't he?
Fine.
Nando's black card.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For anyone that is interested, mine would have been Madueke from Chelsea.
I like him.
I
Good
really
shout.
like him.
Solid player.
And I really wanted him when we were last linked with him. And then he went and scored a hat-trick on his next game for Chelsea. So that
He's going to be expensive. He is.
And he's going to be pricey. But I do like, obviously, he's an asset to the Chelsea squad, isn't he? But I just think he's quite aggressive and he's got very good pace. So, yeah, I would quite like to see him in a Newcastle kit. But
I think Mad Dog would get the best out of him.
Mad Dog will get the best out of anyone, to be honest.
Just because they're scared not to.
Scared not
do
to
what
do
he
anything
says, right?
Says. Exactly,
yeah.
I don't think we got a lot of... Sorry.
No, I was going to say, I do have a realistic one, but I've mentioned him so many times that's probably obvious. But Mbeumo, I'm like desperate for that kid to join us.
You do like him.
Like,
He's my
next in line to my Murphy loving. So, yeah, he can replace, like I said, he can be Murphy's understudy, right? And then when peak Murphy ends, which it will, Mbeumo will be there ready to step in. It's a perfect solution, I think.
I can't believe you just said that about your boy Murphy, but
it's all right. I've accepted.
Okay.
I am. I'm being good. I'm being good, right?
Yeah. Very good. Right. We will move on to, we've already mentioned Southampton, thanks to the player that Michael chose, but we will move on to, I guess, previewing the weekend's fixture because that's what we need to do and we're told to do. So, Southampton on Saturday. Well, yeah, it's preview. Ready preview. Joe's lost it. Right, we are coming off the back of a very embarrassing loss from last weekend, and was kind of deserved because we were way off of it from what we've seen, and we are going to face a struggling Southampton side, which is a shame because they are rock bottom of the league. So my question is, how are we feeling going into the weekend? Michael, you're dying to say something.
I'm just painfully confident, and whenever I'm confident, we get battered.
Oh, God.
So
stop it.
I was gonna
be negative, please.
The reason I maybe come across as negative because when I'm really positive, we do tend to get battered, and when I'm negative, we basically perform really well. To put it bluntly, I wasn't confident for any of the Carabao Cup games the year we got the final, except from the final. So,
right, okay.
It's one of those. I probably was for the third round. I can't remember who we played. I think it might have been Palace or something like that. But yeah, I think when it comes to Southampton, I do have one little stat, and it's in the history of the Premier League, well, including the First Division when it was called that, only one club has ever been doing worse at this point than Southampton, and it was Bolton in 1902/03, where they had 3 points. So that's how bad this Southampton team has been. But we are the only team that gave Derby a win. So we're probably going to give another hand out and just be like, all right, you know what, we feel bad for you. Here's the 3 points.
Yeah.
Get a higher points total than Sunderland did.
Yeah. You know, I was going to mention that lot down the road, actually, because didn't we, the year that they went down, they took all 6 points off us and got very excited about the fact that they did it, even though they're getting relegated. So that's how big that club is, but, you know, never mind. But it kind of does back up what you're saying. We do like to give away pointless points, because that's what it ends up being. Because they're going down
Luton last year, didn't we?
Exactly that. And look at Luton, man. They're struggling this year.
They are struggling.
They're really struggling in the Championship. It's like, it's mad.
They're doing a Sunderland back-to-back relegation.
I was just about to say that.
Zach's trademark now. Back-to-back relegations is doing a Sunderland.
Yeah, it's the future, apparently.
Yeah, it's their slogan. Back-to-back relegation.
Sunderland till I die.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Well, no. Absolutely not.
No.
I was going to say something, but I wouldn't be very accepted on this pod. Right, so Michael, you're feeling really confident about the weekend. Joe, how are you feeling?
I was feeling great until he started feeling confident. Now I'm feeling worried. But
I'll just go.
Michael, pack it in, will you? Could you just... He's gone.
Taking his headphones off. He's gone.
He is. No, all jokes aside, I am feeling quite confident because you want to think of the Bournemouth game as a blip. we didn't turn up. We didn't deserve anything from the game. Fair play to Bournemouth. They did, and they won emphatically. Great. They didn't just win. They ended up realistically on paper smashing us. Even though 2 of the goals were right at the end, and we're still clinging on to a little bit of hope that we could have actually got a draw at that point, which I thought was quite sad at the time, but never mind. But yeah, we didn't deserve anything. Look, so it's kind of wipe it away. It's done. We need to move on. The players need to move on. And maybe it was just a bit of a kick up the arse type of thing, but whatever I should have said there. That really, I don't know, because sometimes you take it for granted. I know we fans do. And it's going to get in their heads. We joked about it before, like, let us be the confident ones. You guys keep it game to game, blah, blah, blah. And in fact, I said this before the Bournemouth game. So that came back to bite me on the backside, because I literally did say, I was like, let us be the hyper ones. Let us want to go 14 in a row, like I was bleating on about, and we're going to win this and we're going to win that. We had the treble on. And I was like, it's all right, because the players have got their head screwed on and they're all in a clear focus. And what do they go and do? Lose 4-1. So yeah, like, brilliant, Joe. Brilliant analysis.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for that.
I know. So basically, you've got Michael feeling confident, me being ridiculous. Nick, what are you saying?
I am probably just feeling a bit level-headed about it, because I'm like,
that's boring.
Okay, pod done.
Feels like, screw you, Nick, you're boring.
Michael chose violence. Okay, then.
Didn't he just?
No, I was a little bit cocky before the Bournemouth game, because obviously it's nice to see your team be on like a 9-game unbeaten streak, and then they go and embarrass me like that at the weekend. So that's just great. But yeah, and obviously we've already played Southampton this season, where we won 1-0, and good old Fab Shah got sent off. So if we could not have a repeat of the red card, that'd be great. Yeah, I am feeling confident going into it. Look, Southampton, they're struggling. They're really struggling, aren't they? So I'm not going to hide from that. And this should be a team. I know you should never assume, but this should be a team where we, go out and do what Newcastle do and play good football. So I'm going with we're winning, but we'll leave predictions until the end. So overall, we're feeling confident.
Yeah, we are
just a little bit.
Perfect. Right, we'll end part 2 there. Michael, I believe you're giving the next sponsor, please.
The Global Sports Podcast Network is changing the face of football podcasting with dedicated daily content for every Premier League team, women's football, and a dedicated Premier League wrap-up in 5 different languages. This is your one-stop shop for your daily football fix. Find the GSPN whenever you find your usual podcasts.
I love it.
Lovely job. I generally thought the whole pod had froze there, where you were just not speaking. I was like,
the brilliant thing is, I paused for about 5-6 seconds, but because of Zencastr's capabilities of removing awkward silences, you're just going to hear them laugh, and you're not going to hear any of the silence.
We're going to sound stupid as always, Nick.
Why change a habit of a lifetime?
Zencastr.
Exactly. Hashtag standard.
Hashtag standard. Hashtag stupid. Stupid. Right. We're nearly at the end of the pod, to be fair. So, part 3, we probably should give our opponents just a little bit of airtime. I've got my question. Oh, no. So, what do we... Well, first of all, actually, lineup for Newcastle. Do we think Eddie will go unchanged from the starting lineup from Bournemouth, or do we think we will see some changes? I'm honestly not sure what he's going to do, because obviously the performance... it wasn't exactly poor, but it also wasn't the best. So I don't know what he's seeing and what he's thinking. So what do we think? Yeah. Do we think we'll see some changes? I'm not sure what changes there could be.
I'd like to see Cher come back in, because it was Botman and Burn, wasn't it?
Yes,
back.
All 3 kind of had a run out though, and they were both. All 3 of them were pretty terrible, to be fair. But I do agree.
I think I just want the Cher and Burn partnership back. That was actually working really well. And I'm not saying Botman's done a bad job, because he hasn't, obviously. But
leave my man alone.
I just want to see that. That's all.
Leave my man alone.
Leave my man alone.
Before these 2 start obsessing on who they fancy, I would just like to say, I would like to see Botman and Fabian Cher, that partnership reignited at the back, because it was a fantastic partnership a few years back.
We're both happy.
As much as I love Dan Burn, I do think maybe it's time for him to start sitting out and taking that role as sort of the third choice, where he isn't going to play as much, and he did struggle against Bournemouth. So let's get back to full strength and let's blow Southampton away.
Yeah, I feel really sorry for Dan Burn that we've said that, because for me so far he's my player of the season, which I would
Yeah,
not
I
have been
can't
saying.
drop him. I'm not
I
going
don't
to
think I
lie.
said that at the
I
beginning of
know.
the season, but
No.
what I did note was that Tino has come out in an interview and said that he's had a bit of self-reflection, is what he put, and sort of said that he recognises that he had a really poor game on Saturday, and a lot of them apparently have said that. So apparently they're all going into the
Good.
weekend full of, confidence and some changes. So that'll be nice
Good.
to see. From a Southampton side of things,
3-0 Southampton win.
yeah. Oh, don't. Why would
God.
you say that? um,
Michael,
Coming
man.
from a Southampton side, though, if any, and obviously I think there's probably only one player that Michael's already mentioned. Do we think we'll see any sort of threat from Southampton? Now, I'm not writing them off, but I'm just saying, do we have obviously a better side than what they do? Do we think they'll bring us any sort of challenges on Saturday? Michael, I'll let you start.
Are we better than the second worst Premier League side?
Well, no.
Michael's having your life tonight.
I know.
What
Do you want to host? Never
Hang
host.
Over,
on.
Michael. Take over.
No, I think, in all honesty, I think Dublin, there's rumours that he's injured, and if he is, that's a big boost for us. But the Man United game, I thought Southampton were fantastic, and they realistically should have got anything before that former Rangers flop managed to bag a hat-trick. It's not impressive. It was against Southampton. Ayres Perez did it years ago. It's fine. But in fact, he's done it twice against them. It's fine. He's double the player Diallo is. But Sulemana was fantastic on that day, and I think it's one of those. Tino Livramento's come out and said, I wasn't very good. I'm going to do better next time. Well, you're up against a very pacey and tricky winger, just like he was against Bournemouth. It wouldn't surprise me if Sulemana has a very good game, which might lead to Southampton getting a goal. But realistically, when you look at the rest of the team, we should overpower them in pretty much every area. There's a couple of players I do like, Walker-Peters, Harwood Bellis, for example, but in comparison to our 11, it's Premier League versus Championship.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's disrespectful to say at all, to be honest.
No, I agree. I completely agree. You just put it in a better way than I would have. More professional. Joe, do you agree, or do you have anything else to add to that before we move on?
He's spot on, isn't he, really? And yeah, Michael obviously is more professional than us, so he's always going to put it better than we are.
There's a lot of sarcasm here today, isn't there?
No, Michael, I'm being honest. You know I am. You know my thoughts on this team, and you are by far the most professional one of the five of us. It's just facts.
Try not to come across as an arrogant see you next Tuesday.
No, you're absolutely fine. You know things. We all know things. It's just we get a bit, erratic, let's say.
I know nothing by the opinion of our audience, but it's fine.
Oh, well.
I'm here for a good time, not a long
fine.
time.
It's just a few people, man. That's just social media for you, man. Just don't read it. Don't read it.
Exactly. Just passionate about my own team, aren't I?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that probably covers off what I was going to sort of say as well about Southampton. I do think, obviously, we've got the better squad, and we should walk away with a win, which leads nicely into what we always do, our score predictions. Shall we guess for the other two as well, seeing as they're not here?
Yeah, well, we know what Ian's already done is, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Yes,
he put 3-1.
Ian's gone for 3-1.
Because he never changes. But yeah, 3-1.
Why change a habit of a lifetime?
Exactly. What do we reckon with Kev then? What do you reckon?
Kev, he's very reserved, Kev, sometimes.
He has been more recently, hasn't he? This is what's happened. Michael's went more kind of, woo, we're going to win everything. Michael's definitely gone rogue. And then Kev's gone rogue in the other way. So it's all very confusing.
We balance each other out. It's fine.
It is.
Yin and yang.
Yin and yang.
Down. Yeah, chalk and cheese.
Yeah.
Should we go 2-0, Kev? What do you reckon?
Yeah, Kev's definitely
I was thinking
2-0.
that, to be honest.
Yeah.
2-0. All right, one then.
Right, I'll go last then. So, Michael, what score are you saying?
I do think Southampton have improved under the new manager, Juric. I think Ivan Juric. So the 6-1 I joked about at the start of the week, it's not happening. If I'm honest, but I do think it's going to be 4-0 to Newcastle.
Oh, that's what I was going to go for.
Well, you're going to hate me even more because I'm going for 4-1 because we're going to do a reverse of our last fixture.
Oh,
Sorry, Nick.
Right. The
There's
thing
a
is, I
3-0
don't know.
available.
I don't. What? Sorry.
There's
What
a
did you
3-0 available if you want that.
Yeah, there
You
is. To be
can't just
fair.
agree with me.
Yeah, I think it's going
Both
to
of
be.
us says you can't.
Yeah, sorry. It's nice to be different. It's nice to be different. No, I'll go 3-0. I'll go 3-0. Oh, I really hope we win. Otherwise, it's going to be a depressing pod on Sunday.
You know what I'm not going to do, guys. The last time before the Bournemouth game, I clipped our predictions.
Yeah,
and then
don't do that.
Clipped all the ones that we were going to guess, put it on, and then I listed all of our predictions. It's not going on socials.
No, no,
I
no,
now
no.
believe I was
Do
part
it.
to play. No, Michael.
No, don't be a coward. Come on.
I am a coward.
Let's
I'm
do
an
this.
absolute coward. Until we win that game, I'm being a coward and I don't care.
Right, and before we all start arguing, we'll leave the podcast there.
It's just
Thank you
getting
both.
interesting.
It is. Thank you both for joining, and obviously thank you everyone for listening. We will be back on Monday with a review of the Southampton game, and God help us
Win.
all, please let it be a win. So yeah, see you all then, and thank you for listening.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.